Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, Aston Villa 1, Fulham nil. We're still doing the most to keep us in this race for Champions League football, mate. It's just a shame that the other teams aren't really giving us much of a helping hand, are they? We're recording this on the Sunday evening. Chelsea-Liverpool has just wrapped up. Obviously, that game has finished 3-1 to Chelsea. Newcastle tied Brighton 1-1 earlier on in the day, which in isolation isn't a terrible result for us. But this last one was a big one, mate, wasn't it? This Chelsea-Liverpool result.
Yes, it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. It kind of felt that yesterday maybe the tides were turning in our favour. It's a shame as well, going back to the game on Friday night. Man City just kind of, I say, squeaked past Wolves. They had all of the ball, but it was only 1-0, and it's a shame that you kind of look at that and maybe that could have gone a slightly different way. And, even results that don't really affect us too much. Bournemouth got the shock result at Arsenal, and you kind of feel that just maybe we could have a crazy weekend of Premier League football. Yeah, I mean, Brighton were winning right up until I think it's the 89th minute before Isak scores a penalty that makes sure that Newcastle get out of there with a draw. And so, yeah, it's one where, again, there's still games. There's a big game tomorrow, Monday Night Football. Forest have got to go to Selhurst Park and play a Palace team. And hey, if there's one team we know in the league that can be a bit of a bugger to play against at Selhurst Park, it's definitely us with Crystal Palace. And so we're hoping that, maybe in reparations for the result last weekend, Crystal Palace can do us a favour and take some points off Forest there. But yeah, bit of a mixed bag, but I'm not too disheartened by the Chelsea result. To be honest with you, it's not one that I don't think is an entirely massive surprise. I think when you look at kind of how the champions tend to perform, particularly Liverpool, I think was it City they went to after the
Yeah.
league in lockdown? They got beat kind of 4 or 5-0, I think it was.
And they made six
So
changes today as well, didn't they?
yeah, exactly. As soon as the team sheets came out and it was Kwanzaa, Tsimikas, I think Endo made his first start of the season. You could kind of see, okay, we can I can kind of see where this one's going. But Chelsea still got they go to Newcastle next weekend. So whatever the result there, one of the teams above us are going to take points off the other, which is good. They've still got to play United again. They play Forest, so again you're going to have two teams play against each other there on the final day of the season, which are going to take some points off each other. So, yeah, I don't think it's this Chelsea result particularly that's going to kind of define our season. They have some tricky ones to come, but all we could do, mate, was take care of business on our end.
Absolutely. And we'll get into the running and where we could and everyone else could finish a bit later on. We do have a game to talk about, mate, and I feel like I have a lot to say about this game because we're at that stage of the season where points are the only thing that matter. I think it's fair to say. But with that being said, this is a game that Villa probably should have won 5-0. And I know, we often come on this podcast and sort of ruin missed chances, but genuinely the chances that were created in this game, the gaping goals that were missed, two of which, absolutely criminal. Villa should have got way more out of this game than they did. And Fulham, or should I say Foulham, came to Villa Park with one job on their mind, really, and that was to absolutely boot the living hell out of us. And it made for quite an interesting and frustrating game. But I think, we obviously get the goal early on, mate, and it's from a set piece. One of the only corners that beats the first man. It's a great header by Tillemans. His run goes unnoticed in the box. Leno crouching, kind of palms it up, manages to get a hand to it, but it was a really good header from Tillemans. And that gave us a nice platform early on. And, as I say, Fulham weren't really very threatening in this game. I didn't particularly think, mate, but they were incredibly frustrating. And I mean, I wish I had they committed 17 fouls in this game. And they should have had at least one red card, if not two, when you look at the accumulation of challenges that both Calvin Bassey and Kenny Tete made during this game. Which is why it's frustrating, but I mean, again, the points are all that matter here, aren't they, mate?
Yeah, they sure are, mate. They sure are. It's I found it I don't think we were outstanding, I found it a bit of a difficult game to gauge. It's not a
Wasn't
performance
fun.
yeah, that we'll, be telling our grandkids about in 34 years. It is crazy how it mirrors a game against Fulham under Gerrard, actually. I saw someone make that a comparison. It was a 1-0 win we had at home. Tyrone Mings scored the only goal with a flick on from a corner in the from the same side of the north stand, very similar into the far post. And so, yeah, it felt like a bit of deja vu in that regard. But yeah, we did have more than a fair few chances. And Ollie, it's just kind of painful, isn't it? Him teetering on the edge of becoming outright our all-time top scorer in the Premier League. You do feel that, if ever there's going to be a wait for a goal, unfortunately for him, it just feels like one of those things that could rumble on, and you're desperate for it not to. Really, it would be a great moment, and a shame that he didn't get it with that one-on-one in front of the Holte end after what was a pretty incredible bit of football from Morgan Rogers to kind of beat his man down the right and kind of play that curving ball into him. But yeah, more than a few chances. Again, there's another one which I think I can't remember who it is that plays the ball right across the face of goal
Matty
for
Cash.
Ollie. Yeah, Matty Cash.
I mean,
Squares it. I thought,
that's a difficult ball in, isn't it? That was a
it
difficult,
is. It is.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
watching
watching
this
it
back
back now,
now.
and yeah, and Cash really, really hits that quite hard. And
Yeah,
at the time, I thought, I mean, obviously the whole stadium's like, what the hell? Ollie's just missed an open goal, um, which is probably something that we can come on to in a little bit, mate. But I did think at the time that it wasn't as easy as it looked. But like, again, are we surprised that Ollie's missed that chance?
yeah. It is. Yeah, it's another one of those, isn't it? It'd be really, really interesting, I think, to in the summer to see what the club does in terms of Ollie generally. If he's someone that we look to retain. We know that there's been rumours around Ollie Watkins almost every window since he's been here, really, and there's already rumours heating up that we'll dip into the striker market once again. And this is kind of volume 2 or 3 of the kind of looking to buy a strike partner slash competitor for Ollie Watkins at Villa. And I think we've got a decent kind of amount of evidence to suggest it's a very difficult role to fill and often hampers Ollie Watkins himself. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how we address that this summer. And there's one I've definitely got an eye on. Yeah, again, wasn't, Ollie had more than his fair share of chances in this game. And it's a shame that we didn't have to rely on him to put one away, to be honest. Well, sorry, it's fortunate we didn't have to rely on him to put one away, because they obviously had the scare with the offside. No, it wasn't offside. It was the handball, wasn't it,
Handball.
for their disallowed goal. And so, yeah, kind of got lucky in that regard. But, it's our two kind of ever presence in Rodgers and Tielemans that I think have kind of won this game for us. Those are the two players that really stood out for me. And there's just a kind of credit to those two, because yeah, there's probably no two players at Villa that have played more minutes than those two guys this season, and kind of game on game they continue to be the ones that impress. And so really, really happy for Yuri on a positive note to kind of get that goal and have his moment in the spotlight, because for all of the amazing work that he's done this season, there probably haven't been enough goals and assists to kind of for him to have his kind of moment in the spotlight. And so it was really, really nice to see him get that one, and great header too from a corner. So yeah, was happy for him. Yeah, not an all-time game for Ollie, but that I do have real faith that he'll crack that record before the end of the season.
I hope so, mate. It doesn't seem as likely for me now, and again, everybody who listens knows how much that we both love Ollie. Um, I feel like we had this problem last season where Ollie's best season period just ever, like real like welcome to the league sort of moment for Ollie. Really showed everyone what he can do. Obviously, he reaches 19 goals, and nobody since Benteke has hit 20, have they? So that's one of the other records that he was sort of going for. And I don't have the results in front of me to hand, but I recall it being something like with 5, 6, 7 games to go, Ollie didn't score a single goal for the rest of the season. Was it Arsenal away? Arsenal away may have been his last goal. I could be wrong, and I would encourage somebody to correct me in the comments, but I do recall him hitting that 19 goal mark and then just hitting a wall when it comes to trying to get over the line. And it feels like that's where we are. He has these really good chances to go and break Gabby's scoring record, be our all-time top goal scorer in the Premier League era. And it's a record that it's not the greatest record for Gabby. I mean, Ollie, obviously, in the games that he's done it is absolutely remarkable. It's unbelievable. So you want him to break it, whether he leaves or whether he stays or whatever. It's 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 not a particularly good look if he leaves in the summer as the joint record holder with Hall. Like that's something that we really need Ollie to make his own and put it to bed. But I just don't see it happening. I think it's the monkey on his back that he's not going to be able to get rid of, unfortunately, um, based on the last few games that we've seen and obviously the games that we've got coming up as well. And Marlon, but Marlon could have had a hat trick himself in this game as well.
Yeah.
Some really good chances. The only thing that I can think of is that when he came on, he put Ollie's boots on. And that's why he didn't manage to score any of the chances that he had, especially that one that rattles off the crossbar. I thought that was wonderful. And it's a really good ball that JJ plays in for that one. Loads of chance. I mean, it's encouraging that we're still creating the chances, but it's that age old discussion when it comes to Watkins of it's now 25 big chances missed in the league this season. I feel like I, there's valid arguments on both sides of the sort of whether you're like pro or anti Ollie Watkins, and I hear them on both sides. But the one thing that I find frustrating with it is there's never, or at least I've never seen that much nuance in any of the discussions or the debates. It's always Ollie shit, get rid of him. Well, that's just not true. Ollie has missed a lot of chances, yes. The most in the league this season, yes. He's not a bad player. And him missing all of those chances also doesn't equate to him being bad or neither bad or good. It's bad luck. And this season as well, when you talk about how disrupted his season's been with like little niggling injuries and that you've got the Duran thing as well. Like there is so much nuance to the Ollie Watkins discourse that I feel is never really acknowledged. And again, for the sake of clarity, I'm firmly in the camp of I think Ollie Watkins is a very good player, and I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are right now if he wasn't at the club. But with that being said, it does feel like we are at a situation where, I know you've said past 3 summers now, it's felt like, will he, won't he? I think this is the year that he finally does go. But it's almost an impossible task. It's, there's like 3 positions that are like so hard, I think, to sort of recruit and replace. It's goalkeeper, it's defense, and it's striker. You could probably throw midfield in there as well, to be fair. But they're the spine of your team is so fundamentally important. And when you look at just how much Ollie's contributed since the moment he walked through the door at Villa, and how every season he's leveled up and leveled up. And this is the only season now, well, it's fourth full season, isn't it, where the goals and assists haven't increased. So naturally, the discourse does sort of tend to get worse. But when you look at the fact he's 30, the fact that the striker market, I think we're probably going to struggle to sell him when you look at the strength of the striker pool right now, mate. January, when all of this talk was about us, offering Ollie to Arsenal, all that kind of stuff, that was probably the last chance we had to sell him for like mega big bucks because, I mean, everybody knows about Benjamin Sesko's release clause. Hugo Ekitike is a player that has, I don't want to say burst onto the scene because I think he's been doing what he's been doing for quite some time, but he's certainly had more suitors over the past 4, 5, 6 months. Alexander Isak as well. I mean, that's the massive domino that may not even fall in the summer, but if it doesn't, that's a domino in itself, right? In terms of these other guys and where they go and who signs each other. So it's one of them things where Ollie Watkins' currency in the market has probably never been weaker. And it's typical, really, at a time where we are talking about potentially having to move him on, and it is an uncomfortable debate and discussion to have because of all he's done for the football club. wondered what your thoughts were on that, mate. Like, if not now, when? Especially with the looming FFP issues, PSR.
I agree. But my question is kind of right back to you, mate. In it kind of refers to what you were talking about is where? Like, I
Yeah.
just think that right now, 30 years old isn't coming off a great season. I no longer think he's the striker that Arsenal's the one, right? Always has been.
Yeah.
Always has been. Like, do Arsenal look at him now and be like, yeah, this is the guy that gets us over the hill? Like, let's go put. I think the days of 60 million are probably gone. I think you're more looking in the kind of 40 mil. Like, I don't think you're going to fetch more than 50 million for a 30-year-old Ollie Watkins now. I just don't think he's that. Like, I don't think his reputation is high enough for, like one of the traditional top six teams. Almost think you probably end up, what, even if you sell him to another one of the top six that isn't City, Liverpool, or Arsenal, you're selling him to a direct rival.
Hmm.
And it's like, it doesn't seem like the type of player that's going to go abroad. And so, yeah, I just don't really see where it's going to open up for us, to be honest with you, particularly when I do think that there's so many more desirable strikers on the market. Victor Osimhen is another name as
Yep.
well that you think is probably going to make a move this summer. Obviously on loan at Galatasaray, so he's another guy that, could probably work his way into that picture as well. And so, yeah, this is probably the time. It's no surprise that, you were kind of asking that, it's a shame that we want to sell him at this point when his stock has never been lower. I would argue that those two things are probably interlinked, right? We probably want to sell him because his stock has probably never been lower. And so, yeah, but to flip it on its head, this is 3 seasons now of 15 plus goals in the Premier League. He's got, I think, 30 plus goal contributions in all competitions. 22-23 was 15 goals, 6 assists in the league. 23-24 was 19 goals, 13 assists in the league. 24-25, 15 goals, 6 assists. So I think there's a counter argument here, is that it really shows the standards of this football club and how they've risen, because he's exactly mirrored his 22-23 campaign for Villa. And he's done it with 3 games to spare. Obviously didn't score in the last game, so he's technically done it with kind of 4 or 5 games to spare, really. So could well go on to be his second best season ever at Aston Villa. And you kind of look at it and you go, okay, we've got a guy that scored 15 plus goals in the Premier League for 3 seasons in a row that we don't deem is clinical enough. And, if we draw up, do you think he's missed 25 big chances
Yeah.
in the Premier League this year? So say he scores another 5, 10 of those, and this is the kind of super clinical striker that we need, would put another 5 or 10 of those away. You're asking for Villa to sign a striker that's going to get you 25 goals, 6 assists in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Uh,
They don't
like,
exist.
who is that, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is, if ever I've seen a grass is greener kind of a guy, and like, I know that I can already hear the comments saying that maybe we had one already in John
No,
Dunn.
I'm not. I'm not entertaining that.
No, and
That's
not
rubbish.
and it's like, there's the output, but then you have all of the attitude problems and the baggage which comes with the John Duran, which there are but none of, really, with Ollie. Even when he admitted that, he was pretty pissed that he didn't start or, get more than 20 minutes against PSG. He did it in a fairly respectfully way. Obviously, kind of had that soundbite, but followed it up with, but, you got to respect the gaffer. He didn't, there was no kind of throwing his toys out the pram. Whenever he's come on for Villa, the attitude is always the same. And so, yeah, I do think we are looking at a kind of real grass is greener approach, where if Villa do go into the striker market this summer, we do look to move on from Ollie Watkins. I'm not looking to tempt fate at all here, but those are big boots to fill. You need someone that's going to come in and get you minimum 15 goals in the Premier League next season with at least 6 assists. That's the lowest he's ever recorded in a full season for Villa. So you're looking to come in and buy a striker that guaranteed is going to get you 20 plus goal contributions in the Premier League. That's a big ask. That's a big ask.
Yeah.
And so, Yeah, like you are talking about kind of top five, top 10 strikers in the world when you ask for a striker that's going to get you 25 plus in the Premier League. And unfortunately, like those are unicorn kind of players.
Yeah, no, I think that there's two elements at play here as well. And first of all, it's if Villa weren't sort of didn't have their hands tied behind their backs in terms of PSR, is this even a discussion? No, it's absolutely not. We're looking at Ollie as somebody who, while he's not at the peak of his value, is still valuable. And as you say, if Arsenal would take him off our hands for £45 million, that's still what, 10, £50 million profit on what we paid for from Brentford. So, it's the books are green. Ollie's moved on. Over 50% of the fan base are happy. The second thing is, and it's the thing that I always put back to people when they say Ollie Watkins is shit, he needs to go. I asked them, who do we go and get then? Who do you think that we can sign that is better than Ollie Watkins and isn't as frustrating is probably the fairest way of putting it. So I've pulled the table up now. He's actually missed 26 big chances. So the one from yesterday hadn't been added when I'd seen that table. But when you go down that table, you've got Erling Haaland missed 22. He's been injured for 20. Sorry, he's been injured for a lot of the season. Salah has missed 22 big chances this season. Nicholas Jackson 19. I mean, I've seen shouts. Some people have said, "Let's go get Nicholas Jackson." Absolutely not. If you're frustrated with Ollie, you're going to hate this guy. Alexander Isak, obviously one of the best strikers in the Premier League. He's missed 18 big chances this season, albeit he scored more than Ollie. So you take the rough with the smooth. He's got 23 goals in the league so far this season. Jean-Philippe Mateta, a player that has terrorised us for years, is a player that we seemingly on the record have been interested in. Jean-Philippe Mateta's missed 16 big chances this season, and here's the other thing as well. He scored one less goal than Ollie. So it's not like, as you say, the grass is greener. Um, somebody when I was chatting to a friend said, "Oh, let's sign Visser. Like, Visser's perfect for us." Okay, well, Visser's missed 15 big chances. Yeah, that's still 11 less than Ollie, but he scored two more than Ollie, which okay is fair enough. But Forest tried to sign Visser in January. I think they only offered like £22 million, which naturally Brentford did reject. Johan Visser is only 2 years younger than Ollie Watkins and will probably cost you more than £35 million. So it's like, at what point does it become there's no value in the
Right?
deal?
Is that if you're selling Ollie for PSR reasons, then you have to spend 50, 60 million to sign his replacement. It negates the whole
Yeah,
point, right?
it's ludicrous, and I don't know, and also like, how much more money are we going to give Brentford? I thought we've gone past that. I don't think Monchi has got anybody's contacts at Brentford. I don't think there's no business is being done with Brentford. Um, but I do find it interesting, and even when you look at someone like Chris Woods, like, I mean, obviously he scored 19 goals this season. I mean, no one's saying that we should sign Chris Wood, but when you're looking at sort of players that have had really good seasons, like Forest probably wouldn't sell for like 30 million. And again, I'm not entertaining the idea that we sign Chris Wood, because I see that just going so horrifically wrong. But like, okay, you then pay 30 million, and it's the same problem. Chris Wood's like 33, something like that. You pay £30 million for him because Forest don't really need to sell him. And you're in this scenario. I mean, strikers is so tough, mate, isn't it? When you look at, the last prolific striker we had was Tammy Abraham, and that's in the second division. And then to go even further back than that, it is Benteke. We're talking a decade ago, uh, since he left. So it just goes to show how difficult it is. And I'm sure Monchi and Unai will find somebody to replace Ollie Watkins, as I'm sure they'll find replacements for every player in the squad. But scoring a goal in the Premier League is arguably one of the hardest things that anybody could do. And I do think that is something that is often lost in a lot of criticism of not just Ollie, but just footballers in general. I think people do forget how hard it is. Um, So yeah, I mean, where do you go from there, mate? I don't know, but
It's tough, mate. This is the eternal debate, right? This is the eternal debate. And again, like any of those names that we've just mentioned, like take Johan Wissa as probably the most credible and
yeah,
realistic, maybe of the bunch that you just presented. Could any Villa fan say, hand on heart, yeah, 20 plus goal contributions for the Villa next season for Johan Wissa? Like, could you definitively say that?
no,
No. Whereas we've got 3 seasons of evidence here with Ollie Watkins to suggest that he can do that. And with a very good injury record, which is another very important thing to mention, is very rarely, unavailable for Villa. The best ability is availability and all that.
absolutely.
And so, there's this Samu Amrodian,
Yes,
which is the big link and has been for a few seasons now, which is like, but again, like Liam Delap is a great example of this, right? In that there is a young, decent striker. Like he's not a world beater. He's a good, promising young striker, and he's wanted by basically this is the thing is that basically
yeah,
every single Premier League team has been linked with him.
30
You know,
million the
you
league
know,
scores.
United need a number 9. Are going to need a number 9 this summer. You can basically go through the league. Liverpool need a number 9. Arsenal need a number 9. Even you go further down, Everton probably in that market. West Ham probably in that market. So many teams, Brentford, Selhurst, Wester, they've got to buy a striker. So, like 10 of the Premier League want a striker, and there's not a lot of names out there. And so you like the Villa's problem this season is that we've not had good enough goals from elsewhere. Yuri Tielemans scores his 3rd goal of the season yesterday. He's now tied for being Villa's joint 2nd top scorer of players currently at the club. John Duran is still our 2nd top scorer in all competitions this season, and he left in January. That's been the problem this season. I don't think Ollie Watkins is getting anywhere near enough heat. John McGinn is someone that scored 6 goals for us in the league last season, has just 1 this year. And like, I'm not saying that, the buck stops with John McGinn in terms of goal scoring, but have we had enough out of your Liam Baileys? No. Have we had enough out of your John McGinns? No. You can basically keep working and working through the squad. And, you got guys like Daniel Marlon, who haven't been given do you know what I mean? Like, haven't been given the time. It's not that he hasn't contributed enough. But I think that's where, we had, he was at 8 goals, 9 assists from Douglas Luiz last year that we've really missed this year. Really missed. He went
DRB as
when he
well.
scored like, yeah. I think Luiz scored in like 4 or 5 home games in a row at one
Yeah.
point as well. And so that's where I think we've really missed out this year. I think the color of
Duran's still 3rd top scorer. It's crazy.
exactly
It's crazy.
exactly it is and so that's where I think we have missed out this year, is that we've not patched up the goals from elsewhere. I think it's only, I saw a stat, I think it's AVFC stat, I always like to shout him out when I can, was saying that I think it's only the 3 relegated teams who have got fewer than Villa's. I think we've got like 3 players who have scored 4+ goals in the league this year. I think only the 3 relegated teams have had fewer than that. I think every other team in the league has more than 3 or 4 players with 4+ goals in the Premier League. And that's where we've fallen down. I think to put it on Ollie's door is easy, but is it fair? Probably not.
No, absolutely. And that's the nuance I'm talking about, guys. This is, I mean, and I appreciate it's hard to fit in however many characters you're allowed on Twitter or X now. But yeah, it's not as straightforward as just get rid of.
We should start a podcast. I've been saying it all.
Yeah, well, I mean, what have we been doing, mate? What have we been doing this whole time? Why are we just sat on Zoom talking to each other? We should record this. But in terms of where this leaves us with the race for Champions League, obviously it's top 5. The table as it stands, Sunday evening, Aston Villa sitting 7th on 60, Nottingham Forest 6th on 60. They have a 6-goal difference improvement on us on +12. Chelsea have put themselves in 5th on 63. Newcastle's 1-1 draw to Brighton has them on 63 points as well, on, interestingly, the same goal difference as Chelsea. And Manchester City are in 3rd on 64 points. Now, I have done some, I want to say conservative predictions in terms of where we finish and where all the other teams finish. So, in terms of running, we have Bournemouth away, Spurs at home, Man United away. I have us picking up 7 points here.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know
that's
where they all come from. Like we could, my gut tells me we draw away at Bournemouth, and we finally break our curse of beating United away. If I say finally, we did it a few years ago, but it's still it feels long overdue after the recent games. But again, wouldn't surprise me if we go and beat Bournemouth and draw that game to Man United. Nottingham Forest arguably have a pretty difficult run in. They've still got four to play. They're the Monday night football game, which is Palace away, Leicester at home, West Ham away, Chelsea at home. I've got them down for 6 points uh, against Leicester and West Ham. I don't think they get anything from Palace. I don't think they get anything from Chelsea. Chelsea play Newcastle away, Forest at home. Sorry, United at home, Forest away. Uh, Maybe it's recency bias. I have Chelsea getting 9 points after watching them today. And maybe, Newcastle away is obviously very difficult, but I think Chelsea are in a position where they have to win to get into these places. So that's where I'm sort of basing my gut feeling and prediction there.
I think
Uh,
Chelsea as well. One thing to consider is that they can rotate a lot for the Conference League games as
Absolutely.
well. Djurgården, like it's not the other teams like that are in kind of European fight, like Arsenal. They've kind of sacrificed the league, but Chelsea won't have to do that.
Exactly. And for, like Forest, even when we played Forest, they were without Wood, they were without Aina. We saw how toothless they were without those two players. So obviously Forest then have Newcastle. Sorry, I've got Newcastle have Chelsea at home, obviously Arsenal away, Everton at home. I have them getting 6 points here. Newcastle have had Arsenal's number all season, so I think they get the points against them and Everton. I think obviously Chelsea win their game against them. And then Man City, with arguably the easiest run in, have Southampton away, Bournemouth at home, Fulham away. That's 9 points. Perfect
Yeah.
for end to the season for Man City there. So I have. So obviously you've got Liverpool first, Arsenal second. I've not bothered working out Arsenal's games, but there is an entertaining reality where Arsenal actually do miss out on European football here if they fail to pick up points and things go their way. I have City in third on 73 points. That has Chelsea in second in fourth, sorry, on 72. Newcastle in fifth on 69 points, which has Villa in sixth in the Europa League spot on 67 points, and Forest just behind at 66. Uh, that's where I think we're at the moment. And listen, I think it's important to say we've virtually guaranteed European qualification now for the third consecutive season, which is remarkable. And if it wasn't for stupid made up rules about how much money you can and can't spend, we would be lauding this season. Whilst missing out would be disappointing, and obviously we don't necessarily know what the summer holds, especially when we've just had a 25-minute discussion at length about the sale of Ollie Watkins. It won't just be him; that will be a very long list of players, and there'll be lots of podcasts and lots of times where we get on Zoom, mate, and are just it's essentially going to be like a therapy session, isn't it, with some of the guys that we're going to potentially have to sell. Um, but we shouldn't let it get lost in all of this that even a sixth place finish and the Europa League, which, like, if we're being honest with ourselves, we would have a really good chance of winning that. We would, and that's not to get ahead of ourselves at all. But given the performances in the Champions League and the quality of teams in the Europa League, we stand a very good chance of going and winning that. So it's not all doom and gloom. But that's just where I've got us this season, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really fault too much of that logic, to be honest with you. There's going to be surprises here and there. I think you just got to kind of not get sucked up in like too much of it's so easy how quickly we can build these games up, particularly as you look at we're the 5:30 on Saturday, so we'll have the context. I think the one thing that benefited us about playing into the 12:30 slot is that we hadn't had the chance to see the results of the weekend unfold. Had we seen Newcastle go and drop points, for example, and then we've got to play in the 5:30 slot, for example. It's a completely different fixture, so I think that definitely did benefit us. So even stuff like kickoff times is starting to have an impact and stuff like that. It's crazy, and so yeah, we do have to just, okay, it's such a cliche and a real non-answer, but we just have to win our games, man. Like if we can turn 7 points into 9, that completely flips the script, doesn't it? And we're so capable of doing it. We're so capable of doing it. But yeah, I think it's interesting how the one thing I'm taking positively there, mate, is that after City, the narrative was like, that's it, done, finished. Champions League is gone. And now all of a sudden we're sat here like just over a week later, and it's like back on big time. So like if on Monday Palace beat Forest, which is entirely plausible, then hey, like we're right back in the fold, right back in the fold.
Absolutely.
And then, as you say, it's Newcastle, Chelsea, or like the next weekend they draw, for example, or something, and then it's like the door is wide open again, and so things can change, which really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, ideally we just win our games. That's all we can do. Like, I hate the fact that I've been, sat glued to the telly all day, praying for, certain outcomes to happen. It's like you can't even enjoy the games. So you can only imagine how Unai Emery's probably feeling watching these games and doing his analysis work. But yeah, we've said it all. We've said it all this time, mate. All we can do is win our games and put us in the best situation possible. We've now won. What we were on a 17 unbeaten home run or something stupid like that. Like, we're not.
I have the exact number. Give me 2 seconds. I have
All good,
it
mate.
really stats up. Yeah, unbeaten in our last 17, won 10, drawn 7. Their joint longest run in the competition.
It's unbelievable, and we've done that twice under Emery. So we have history of clutching up. We've, as I say, it's just a case of stars aligning. Even if that draw that I've thrown in there turns into 3 points, as it stands with all of the other points that I've got in, that would have we'd be tied in points with Newcastle on 69, but their goal difference is far superior. But again, like they could lose again, they could lose multiple, they could not win a game for the rest of the season. You don't know. But guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below on how you think the season's going to end. I know it's like missing out on the Champions League is going to feel like such a disappointing thing. It is. And don't let me or anyone else tell you that it's not disappointing. But like, Villa, we like to be glass half full. So, Europa League, that could be fun. That could be fun.
Bring it on. Thursday nights, Europa nights, baby.
Exactly. Let's do it. Like, we'd have been in every competition in the past 3 years. That's pretty unique. It's pretty fun. But yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, comment your thoughts below, and like the podcast if you enjoyed. Up the Villa.